You're listening to the IFF TV podcast.
Welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. It's Gary Spain here after Republic of Ireland 0, Luxembourg 1. And we have the player rating show, and this is not going to be pretty. What a nice... I don't know what we can say. We'll have other videos on the game, but let's get straight into our player ratings. And we'll start with the goalkeeper, Gavin Bazunu. Ger, what are your thoughts on Gavin Bazunu?
Yeah, we're starting with the goalkeeper, and we're literally starting with the positives, and it's going to be working all the way down. I didn't see who actually get man of the match, but I think it's one clear, obvious candidate from an Irish point of view. For a young lad, still a teenager, I think I'm correct in saying his first season playing senior football in England. Obviously, I know he's with Shamrock Rovers before that, but he done very well tonight. I would have liked to see him start on Wednesday night. I know in the end, Mark Travers got the nod, but I think tonight he justified his selection. We were a bit sure whether he should have stuck with Travers with confidence and stuff like that. But as it turned out, it was a busier night for a goalkeeper than we anticipated. Dealt with a couple of tricky crosses in the first half quite well. Obviously, that long-range effort, he'd done very well. Probably fortunate that there was no one rushing into the box at the time that he could palm it down and then catch it, as opposed to try and catch it, and momentum would have carried him into the net. And in the second half, he made a couple of good reaction saves. I just have them down here. I think they were in the 61st minute, and I'm not sure when the second one was, but it was just after that as well. And as for the goal, I don't think you can blame any fault. It was a fantastic strike. It was from a long distance. It just bounced just before it reached him, and there was a good bit of rain tonight, as we see in the second half, so it would have zipped and picked up extra pace. Probably made it harder for a goalkeeper. But overall, while it'll be a very disappointing night in general for Ireland, I think Gavin can hold his head up very high after the performance tonight. I'd give him an 8 out of 10. And I think there won't be any more touching that after that.
Joe, thanks for that, Ger. Joe, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he was very, very good tonight. I think whenever he's called upon, he did exceptionally well. I think he can't put any fault to him on the goal. It's about Rodriguez not being tracked, and it was actually Seamus Coleman who got man of the match for all 40 and not Gavin Bazunu. But I would give 7.5 out of 10. I thought he was very, very good, and it's only because he let in the goal that I'm dropping him down a little bit. But he was definitely our best player tonight.
Yeah,
Ethan,
I'll
what are your
say
thoughts?
7.5 too. If it wasn't for Gavin Bazunu, we could have lost 2 or 3 now, and that's the truth of it. It's kind of scary as that sounds, but he actually had to make a couple of saves, and made them, and they were weird chances where he wasn't really expecting them, and ball kind of bobbled, and then they got a strike in, so he did very well with that. He can be proud of how he played. I'll keep it short and sweet. 7.5 for me.
Well, what a night. We were beaten at home by Luxembourg, and we're all saying the goalkeeper is man of the match. And not the Luxembourg goalkeeper, our goalkeeper. I have to agree with Ger. I would actually give him an 8. I thought he did very well. I think he is going to be one around for the future. It's not a night we're going to remember too fondly for much, but maybe we'll be looking back in years to come and say it was the night Gavin Bazunu made his debut. So 2 8s, 2 7.5s. Let's move on to the right wing back, which is Matt Dougherty. Ger, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to kind of, in general, it's going to be very hard to give Matt much of a rating anyway, because he went off at halftime. We presume was for the knock that he went down. He went down with a knock after about 10 minutes, and he never really kind of looked himself after that. He never really had much impact on the game. We touched on it before as well. That left-hand side was an nearest target for Luxembourg because their only natural player for that position got injured in that game against Qatar the other day, and he didn't utilise it, or we didn't expose it at all. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, saying that time when he pulled up after 10 minutes and he did need a good bit of treatment, that affects his performance. The fact he was only on the pitch as well for 45 minutes, I'm going to be generous enough and I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10.
Joe, what are your thoughts on Matt Dougherty?
I'm going to give him a 4, but I'm going to mainly give it over the last 2 performances. I completely understand where Jared's coming from when he's saying with the injury he went down with, but over the past 2 games, it just hasn't been good enough. And for a quality player that he is, he didn't give anything. So I'll give him a 4.
I'm gonna give him. I'll give him a 6 because he was only on the pitch for 45 minutes of that abject, terrible performance, and he seems to have some sort of niggling injury that goes back to last Wednesday and has probably only been exacerbated, having played a lot then and also tonight and picked up something. So I'll give him a 6 because he didn't do anything good necessarily, but he wasn't doing anything necessarily wrong. He wasn't really at fault for much, so I'll give him a 6.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to go somewhere in the middle and go with a 5 as well. I think the injury did have an effect on him, and probably the club form with Spurs hasn't helped either. But I hope he is okay and isn't out for long. But it did look like he went off with an injury. Left wing back Enda Stevens. Ger, what are your thoughts?
Very disappointing. I think it's kind of fair to say we haven't seen the end of Stevens of last season Sheffield United for some reason in an Irish shirt. It just hasn't kind of quite happened from. And tonight was one of them games as well. I thought they got a lot of joy, Luxembourg, that second half down our left-hand side, and you have to look to Stevens. He is the main cover there. Sloppy enough in possession, never really kind of seemed to show much authority, come out with the ball. Very, very poor, disappointing night. 4 out of 10 for me.
Okay, for Joe, your thoughts on Enda?
Yeah, this number is going to be across the board for me, I think, but it's definitely a 4 out of 10 for Enda Stevens as well. We expect so much from when he's in an Irish shirt, and even though, as Cher said, he hasn't really done it, you expect in games like this a big performance from a big player that we look at. Just didn't happen. Misery, so 4 out of 10.
Yeah, you're going to disagree?
No, I'll echo the lads. The kind of stage was set for someone to put their name to it and someone to be a hero, really. And he was another one that has the pedigree to make a difference in the game, whether it's a cross or starting a great move. And we just haven't seen it again. And 4, 3, 5, whatever you want.
We're not very impressed here. I'll go a little bit better. I thought maybe a 5 out of 10. I don't think he did too much wrong. He didn't get forward enough, but a lot of the play, particularly in the first half, a lot of our pressing and our chances did come down the left-hand side. So I'll go with a 5 out of 10 for Enda. Moving to the back three, and we'll start with Seamus Coleman on the right-hand side.
Yes, as Joe just told us there, he ends up actually being RT's man of the match in the end. And in fairness to him, he actually was our best outfield player, I thought, in fairness to him. So I know I talked up the likes of Cullen and Clark in that first half, but I thought in that second half, in fairness to him, he got across, done very well. He's a very good football brain, as he would have picked up down through the years, and he just used that very well. And he was showing a lot of good tempo and urgency, as you expect from the captain, come out of defence, and you could see he was just trying to rally the troops. And he definitely, not saying any of the players didn't, but it just came very obvious that he definitely died still with his boots on, did give everything tonight. So he'll probably be the only outfield player that's going to get this rating, but I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10.
Joe, what are your thoughts? Seamus Coleman?
I'm in the same boat. I think there was, when we get into the end of that game, he was the only one that was calling for the ball, who was trying to make stuff happen, similar to the game against Georgia where he scored the goal. He was trying to do everything he could to make miracles happen, basically, when it didn't seem it was coming from anywhere else. So for that, I'll give him a 7 for that respects, because he really, really did play out of his skin in every time he had the ball or even when he was off the ball. So I'll give him a 7.
Ethan?
I'm gonna agree with Jer and give him a 6. I think I accept that when the chips were down, he tried to pick up the ball and try to drive us on. He made a couple of decent interceptions, but again, part of a defense that conceded a goal. You can say maybe he wasn't tracked properly. Rodriguez who scored, but I think on the night that was in it, I think the anything more than a 6 might be a bit kind of generous.
Yeah, I think I'll be a little bit generous. Maybe what swung me was listening to Paul at half time, and the two people he could hear talking on the pitch in the first half were Gavin Bazunu, the 19-year-old goalkeeper, but of course our captain Seamus Coleman, who was driving everybody on. I thought he was definitely our best outfield player. I wouldn't agree with RT giving him man of the match, but I would give him a 6.5, I think. If we go to the middle of the back, the centre back, Daryl Shea, any thoughts there, Ger?
I don't think he reached the heights as he did Wednesday night. I thought he was very impressive Wednesday. Maybe the fact he's a young lad, was a little bit leggy, but he just didn't seem to be involved in the game in any kind of way, shape or form tonight. I'm not saying that he was any at fault or anything else like that, or was a liability in the type, but he just never really kind of seemed to have any impact on the game or get involved in it for whatever reason, and just kind of seemed to struggle. So I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10.
Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah. I said this number would be across the board for me, basically, but 4 out of 10 again. We were caught napping too many times at the back, and whether it was Daryl Shea or Kieron Clark was never good enough. And again, I thought he was phenomenal against Serbia, considering all things considered, and just absolutely there was no excuse for tonight. Luxembourg should not have been let through as much as they were, and that's down to him and his partner. So he's getting 4, and you can guess what Kieron Clark going to get as
well. Well, Ethan, we can stick with Daryl Shea for the moment. Joe's going to get interesting, but anyway, what are your thoughts on Daryl Shea?
I'll give him a 5 in acknowledgement in that he is so young and relatively inexperienced that he didn't have his best game, but he should have been dragged through and lifted up by the likes of Kieron Clark and Enda Stevens. They're there to also take him along and help him through it. And I don't want to really, he didn't do anything that wrong, anything that badly. I don't want to penalise him for a wider squad-wide failing. So I'll get a 5 from me.
Yeah, I actually tend to agree with you, Ethan. I would tend to give him a 5 as well. He wasn't by any means our worst player. I think he did okay. Look, it wasn't a great night, but I think for me he gets a 5. Well, you're all waiting for Kieron Clark. We'll start with Jared, though. Jared,
we just skip Jared and just cut to the chase here. What's the story?
I'll kind of nicely feed it up for what Joe's going to say, but no, I was kind of praising Clark a nice bit in the first half. I agree. I thought he was disappointing the other night, but I suppose kind of as much as I was kind of talking up the benefit of sometimes getting to watch a bit of a replay, even the halftime analysis, they did point out in RT he was quite stoppy and did give the ball away a lot, and I pointed out in the second half as well. But he did do a couple of good things defensively in that first half. Like he made a couple of good blocks, interceptions. But as Joe said, and he's going to go into further detail than me, that he was found napping and once and living in defensively in the second half. And I just kind of quickly finish up on this. Like, I look at Clark for Newcastle, and everyone's kind of saying like, "Oh, he's doing okay" and stuff like that. But Newcastle are doing desperate at the moment in the Premier League, and they're crying out for a player to show a little bit of leadership and go above and beyond just their own personal performance. Clark is one of their most experienced players, and he doesn't seem to want to do that. And that kind of has transcribed again into Ireland. You're looking at him thinking like you're expecting more from him. As Ethan said, you're almost expecting him to be carrying the likes of Daryl Shea and stuff like that, but he just doesn't seem to kind of have that bit of drive to go a little bit further. So given the fact he's an experienced player and someone I would be looking for as a big voice in that back four, I'm actually going to give him a 3.
Okay, 3 for... So, Joe, stage is yours.
Okay. Kieron Clark, what is the issue here, okay? He is supposed to be the senior centre-back, okay? Across the back line, okay? He's playing in the back 3 where you have Seamus Coleman, who's a right-back, and Daryl Shea, who's 12 years old, okay? And the two of them have made Kieron Clark looked like he'd never even seen a football before, right? There was no excuse for how he played tonight. There was no excuse for how he played against Serbia. He is an embarrassment to this national team, and he's an embarrassment that he's even been called up, and he shouldn't be called up ever again. He genuinely, my blood is boiling, even the thought of his name, okay? I cannot go low enough in a number to describe how I feel about him. So the best I can give him is, what's the best I can give him? 0.1. Is that fair enough?
That's a number, yep. That's on the scale.
Follow Joe Dunphy here, Ethan.
I will surely. I'm gonna zag. I'm actually gonna give him a 5 as well. And like I can imagine like this is gonna send Joe even higher up. I think he's a bit sloppy in possession, but like Jersey made a couple of decent interceptions when he was on the pitch, and crucially, he was taken off for James McLean and wasn't on the pitch for the real shit show whenever Luxembourg started to pour on and have a lot more of the ball and have their chances and ultimately score a goal. And so for that reason, I'm actually going to give him a 5.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point, Ethan. That he didn't do well enough to stay on the pitch is the counter argument to that.
Yeah.
But
Ethan, you're fantastic at giving like people extra points for being subbed at the right time.
Right.
You did the same.
But look, the score was 0-0,
Yeah.
and then it was 1-0.
I do take the point. He had a couple of good interceptions, but he was found wanting as well, and he didn't do it for me tonight. I'll give him a 4.5. I think is where I'd score him there. We move on to the midfield and Josh Cullen in the holding role. Ger, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, overall in general, a decent kind of tidy performance from Josh Gimp. I don't think anyone reached the heights to win tonight, but he looked good in possession. He made a couple of very, very good forward passes in the first half, but just seemed to drop in the second half, whether it was tiredness, maybe it was just confidence with him or something else like that. One area I would be critical of him, but I think it's something you would have looked at the two midfielders further advanced from. Just the lack of presence in midfield was frustrating, but like that first line should come from the two lads in front of him, so I don't think he's someone you'd overly kind of criticise for that. But just in general, he was good. He was kind of tidy. He's not someone that you'd be expecting when we're chasing the game that he's going to be the one at the end of the counter attacks or the chances and stuff like that to be the hero. So I think in his own individual role he did okay, so I'm going to give him a 5.
Okay. Joseph?
Yeah, 5 for me. Same with Cullen. There's nothing you can overly praise, but he's only someone that's new to the international scene, and he did have a great game against Serbia, and maybe it's a show off from that. Overly, it's probably the best I can give someone is a 5 at the moment, and it's for him. That there's not much more I can say than that. I thought he did well in the first half and at moments, but he just drifted off, and unfortunately, that's just where it is.
Ethan, if you have anything to add to that?
I'd probably agree. I think this was the game. Maybe not. I think I'd like to see him and Malumbi in again together. I think that there's the kind of beginning of a nice partnership there, but obviously it wasn't to be the case. And I think he probably suffered a bit for that with the amount of time and space that Luxembourg had to actually pass the ball around, and that's a bit of it caused us problems and was kind of scary, to be honest, the ease of which they had the ball. But he did nothing too wrong, and again, one of the younger players that I don't want to penalise for the failings of the whole squad, so I'll give him a 5 as well.
Yeah, I think I'd be inclined to give Josh a 6 just for his first half performance. I was quite impressed in the first half.
Yeah.
He was very good on the ball. He was the focal point for a lot of our passing, and we did have some very crisp passing in the first half. He did fade a bit, which was bit disappointing. All right, I think we got overrun in the second half in midfield, but I'll go with a 6. Jason Knight, his partner, Ger.
Disappointed with Jason, to be honest, tonight, because the 2 times he played in the Nations League, he played quite well, and I know Wayne Rooney's been highly praised of him with Derby, but the last couple of weeks he's gone quiet. Now Derby's form has been very poor as well, so maybe that's something to do with it. And when you're a young player, sometimes you're not always going to reach the heights as he did last season and that. But disappointed with him. I thought he was quite sloppy and gave the ball away quite a lot in that first half. Second half, he lasted the full 90 minutes. I know we made a couple of substitutions towards the end, but I can't remember who came off.
I think he might have been hooked at the end, maybe.
Yeah, but even still in the second half, nothing really kind of much seemed to kind of go through him. It was disappointing, but he's a young guy. I know he's one of the more attacking outlets, but you still wouldn't be pinning much hope in him. You still would be looking more for like Collins and Robinson and stuff like that. So I don't want to be too critical. Like, it was his first proper game, like first proper competitive match. Like, it's not being disrespectful to the Nations League. So I think you have to take that into consideration. I'll give him a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be the same. I'll give him a 5 just for the extra thing that he's so young and he's playing in his first competitive game, and a lot was put on his head. I should probably take away points for the fact that he didn't play that well, but kind of anonymous throughout the whole thing. It was very disappointing, and I did expect a lot from him tonight, but the best I can give him is a 5, and it's just the way it's going to be across the board.
Yeah. I'll go a bit lower. I'll go a 4.5, lower than Cullen, purely because, he's kind of known for his maybe attacking ability, his ability to kind of drive forward and make things happen on the attacking end, and we just didn't see any of that tonight. And it wasn't just him involved in it, but I think he was there, and the reason you maybe pick him over someone like Malumbi is that he'll give you a bit more in the final third when you're looking to get a goal, create a chance. And there was just none of that tonight, so I have to give him a 4.5. But, that happens.
Okay. Another player I actually thought faded a bit as well. He had one great run, actually. He carried the ball about half the length of the pitch early on in the game. got tackled into touch by one of the Luxembourg players. But yeah, I'm inclined to give him a 5, but he did fade a bit. I still think we're going to see a lot more of him in a green shirt. But tonight wasn't his night. Alan Brown finishing off the midfield, Ger.
Yeah, very disappointed tonight. I just feel like he's one player for me. He's been given plenty of opportunities. I know he got the goal tonight, but he hasn't really grabbed his opportunity in a green shirt by two hands. For me, it's not the same Alan Brown that we seen playing for Preston back in 2018, 2019. And he got an injury there towards the tail end of that 2019 season. And I know he's been, as you touched on, he's been a utility man for Preston. I just think that's affected his form, because if you look at him sometimes, and he can be very sloppy. And Paul touched on when he joins at half time, and I didn't notice it as much, but because he mentioned it, I looked out for more in the second half, and it just continued to get the ball away cheap. Never made anything happen. That one player you really would have been looking for creativity, and just to prove that I'm not going to be biased because of the namesake, I'm going to give him but I do genuinely think his performance was very poor and disappointing. I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10.
Joe, have you anything?
Yeah, 4 out of 10. He was supposed to be our talisman. He got a goal the other night, played very well. There was a lot talked up, and just completely and utterly let us down. This was supposed to be his time to kind of take the reins and be our man for the next couple of years, and it just didn't happen. I'm very worried. If I'm being honest, I expected a lot more, and it just didn't happen. So the best I can give him is a 4.
Ethan?
Yeah, I think I'd be the same. Give him a 4. I think apart from the goal against Serbia, I think he played particularly well that night, and it was, maybe even worse tonight. I think these are the games you're going to look to someone like him who's, maybe he doesn't have a ton of international experience, but he's played more than a lot of other lads in that squad. You're looking to them to, they have the experience to, kind of make things happen and make, create a goal, create a chance, lead the team on, and it was just very anonymous and very poor, really.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I wasn't impressed with Alan Brown tonight. I think a 4 as well. James Collins up front, Ger.
I think in fairness to him, it's hard because he missed probably our best chance throughout the game. That in the first half should have scored it. Let's be brutally honest. But given that, let's be brutally honest, we looked like a team that was playing off scraps and weren't playing with much creativity. I thought he put a good shift in. He won a lot of free kicks. He was a nightmare for their centre backs. His physical strength did kind of stand out, but ultimately, at the end of the day, he's there to score the goals. And if that goes into the back of the net, you're looking at a different game. We probably win. So while overall, I think he was honest, as you always expect from him, but he just didn't deliver when you really needed him. So I'm going to give him a 5.
Joe?
Strikers are there to score. He missed our best opportunity. It shouldn't have been our only opportunity, but it was our best opportunity. If it goes in, as Jared said, it's a different game. Didn't happen. The best I can give him is a 4. Unfortunately, he didn't get the service he should be getting, but there's not much more you can do about that. You put away a goal, it's a different game. So,
Ethan?
Yeah, I'll give him a 4.5 purely because he did do a lot of kind of donkey work and won a few free kicks and got around them and, put a good shift in, if you want to say that. But like the others have said, you're in there to score goals. Robinson put it on a plate for him, really. The keeper did well. You can say that, but if he puts that anywhere other than right at the keeper, it's a goal, we're 1-0 up. And we probably go on to win 2 or 3-0, really, if you're looking at if we get an early goal.
Yeah.
But that's and he's not one of the young players. He might not have the same experience at international level, but he's not a 21-year-old where you're going to maybe cut them the slack. He's one of the more experienced heads in terms of his competitive football play, and needs to be doing better.
Yeah, that's.
No, I've headphones on.
Yeah. I suppose I'd give him a 5. Callum Robinson. Last of the starting 11, Ger.
Yeah, started brightly. As we touched on, put that cross in, wonderful cross, putting on the play for James Collins, just unfortunate. Looked lively, continued on from where he was on Wednesday, but like everyone else, he just failed in the second half, and I know he ends up being replaced in the end. Was it Shane Long that came on? Yeah, Shane Long came on from the 73rd minute, but from the start of the second half until the 73rd minute, he was actually anomalous, so I'm going to give him a 4.
Okay. Joe?
I'll give him a 5 just because he created some stuff in the first half. He looked lively and a lot more than a lot of players on that field today. I know he drifted off, but some players never even arrived, so I'll give him a 5 for that reason alone.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give him a 6 purely because he should have had an assist. If it wasn't for the missed chance, it might be a bit generous. But in a game where we really created very little, he again provided an excellent opportunity, a great chance, and we did. It wasn't his fault; it didn't end up in the back of the net. And so, with that in mind, we probably didn't have the best game, especially not considering whether they played on Wednesday night. But I think I don't want to penalise him also for another player maybe not putting away the chance.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Maybe a 5.5 because it was a great delivery to set up the chance for James Collins, but unfortunately it wasn't to be, and totally different game if that goes in. But not his best display, and he was hauled ashore. Maybe in the substitutes, maybe we can rate Robbie Brady because he got half a game of football, and maybe the others, I don't know if we can spend too much time. But Robbie Brady, Ger?
Yeah, came on for Dougherty at half time. It was kind of the answer to what some people are calling out for the comments in the first half. Get someone on who can get a good set piece in, and let's be brutally honest, it was a mixture of up and down from Brady, and that's probably been generous. A lot of his set pieces weren't good enough. He put one good one in that Alan Brown should have scored, or should have at least hit the target anyway. His couple of crosses into the box from open play weren't too bad, but I think as Ethan touched on it in the comment or in the match, Ethan, he's 28, he's experienced, he's around a long time, he's a Premier League player, he's done before for us in the past. He's just not the same player anymore. He should be dictating that game. He should be coming into the prime of his career. And we're talking about a man that at best is going to get 45 minutes, 30 minutes of football. It's just very disappointing. But I was going to give him a 5, but now that I've rambled on, I was kind of thinking, oh no, maybe he wasn't even worth it that, so I'll give him a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be the same. I'd give him a 4. As Ger was saying, I'm going to be echoing a lot of what he was saying. He just was a passenger when he's supposed to be a leader. He was supposed to kick on so much more from 2016, which never happened to a lot of players as well. So for the fact he came on and gave maybe 1, maybe 2 good deliveries from a player of what quality we hold him to, there's no higher I can give him than a 4 because he did nothing.
Ethan?
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 4 because he was brought on really for set pieces and good deliveries, and we just didn't see it. That was, there was maybe 1 that was good, maybe 2, but out of maybe 6 or 7, and that's just when that's the reason you're being brought onto the pitch, it's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to be a bit more generous. I'd give Robbie a 5 because he was involved in a lot of the stuff we did. I mean, yeah, the set piece delivery could have been better, but it was actually better in the second half than it was in the first half. I think Robbie did improve it, even though it wasn't up to his usual standard. And he was involved a lot in the game, but unfortunately things just didn't happen. But I'm inclined to give him a 5. So maybe the other 4 substitutes: James McLean, Shane Long, Troy Parrott, Jason Malumbi. I don't think Troy Parrott and Jason Malumbi were on long enough for a rating.
No.
Is there anything I really wouldn't have much to say about James McLean or Shane Long. Is there anything you want to add, guys, or can we wrap it up?
I'd say 4 for them. Were brought on to change the game and give us more attacking intent. They didn't. Long story short.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Totally. McLean came on the 60th minute, plenty of time to make an impact. I can't remember one stage when he came on, we said that was good play by James McLean, or he looks like he's liable getting involved. Probably due to James McLean, tried his heart out, didn't really do much. Long came on 73rd minute, got involved in the thick of things with a couple of crosses into the box, had a very, very soft appeal for a penalty, would have been extremely soft to give him from one of the very few good Brady deliveries. And as you touched on, the last couple of lads that came on with single digits minutes left, so they couldn't impact the game or very little time. I think 3 or 4, whatever you want for Long on the plane.
Okay. All right. Okay, lads, not a very impressive set of numbers there, but I don't think when you lose 1-0 at home to Luxembourg, the player ratings aren't going to be very good. Gavin Bazunu was our unanimous choice for man of the match, and Seamus Coleman was our unanimous choice, I think, for best outfield player, but not a good night for the Republic of Ireland. But my thanks to Ger, to Joe, and to Ethan for your comments and for the player ratings. And stay tuned for more content on the